Hello people, welcome to the beginning of a new set of videos. In these 10 video series, we're going to take a look at the reading guide, and you've probably seen this PDF that I downloaded, Unit 1. I'm going to show you where I got it from, I put it from. It's basically from the website, from the platform. If you have the platform, you go to Reading Guide. It's really down there here. You scroll down to Reading Guide, and then you've got the PDF starting Unit 1 up to Unit 10. We're going to take a look at all these units to prepare you for the IELTS reading, both academic and general, because you will need the same skills when it comes to doing or taking both reading parts of both exams. All right, so what are we going to take a look at today? Today we're going to take a look at very, very important things. For example, what we mean by skimming and scanning when it comes to a text. Okay, we're going to practice our vocabulary training. We're also going to take a look at some idioms, okay, some idiomatic expressions, and we're also going to take a look at certain, generally vocabulary, and then most importantly, the skimming and then the scanning rule. All right, beginning, we've got these leading questions. We're not going to do this because that presumes you have a partner to talk about or somebody in a classroom setting. So we're going to jump that and we're going to go straight to the exercise B, which has to do with a vocabulary exercise. You have a set of 1 to 10 sentences with gaps in between them, and you'll have to choose one of these words to fit in the gap. Remember, you have such gapped questions also when it comes to the IELTS exam, especially in the general section. All right, so this is good training for you. The way you go about gap sentences is, even if you don't know what the vocabulary in the text means, in this case, these are the filtered out vocabularies from a text, and you're supposed to put in these vocabularies in the gaps. Even if you don't know what the words mean, you can guide yourself with some words in the sentence, all right? So for example, number 1, I decided to do some gap for a few weeks during the summer vacation, okay? For a few weeks during the summer vacation. So you can imagine, what is this person trying to talk about? This person is trying to talk about a job or taking a holiday, all right? However, we don't have a holiday here, so it can only be a job, okay? Job for a few weeks. The two words that come close are hire and temping. But putting hire here, and it wouldn't make sense. I decided to do some hire for a few weeks during the summer vacation. That doesn't make sense. So that leaves us with temping as the correct answer. Temping comes from the word to temp, all right, which is the short form for temporary. And it basically means doing a job or taking on a particular job for a few weeks, a few days. So basically a temporary short of time, and the summer vacation is a temporary short of time. Number 2, Brian was gapped because he was always late for work. Okay, so always late can guide us to select the right answer. And if somebody is always late for work, what can happen to the person? Will he be hired? No. Union? No. Okay, so you go through all these words and you figure out that dismissed is the correct answer. Okay, and remember to put the verbs in the correct form. That is something not to forget. Use the correct form of the verb. So he was dismissed, and we got to that answer because always late kind of provides the precursor to the dismissal. Number 3, it took several days to interview all the gap for the job vacancy. What are we talking about? Job vacancy, open positions to interview. Definitely we're talking about the applicants, people who apply for a particular job. Number 5, if your mate does, you will be given an amount of money as the compensation for losing your job. I must say, if you don't know the meaning of that particular word, nothing would help you, all right? But for those of you who know and still are not sure, losing your job should guide you, because when you lose your job, you become redundant or unemployed. There's a slight difference between the two, but because we don't have unemployed here, we will go for redundant. Redundant means having nothing to do. You're there, you're capable, you've got the skills, but you don't have work to do. That is redundancy. So go ahead and use the same trick, even if you don't know, we've done 5. So 5 words are gone. And then even if you don't know the meaning of the word, just look for clues within the sentence. What could the relationship be? And then try and figure out the answer that fits that particular relationship. Moving on, we've got a vocabulary exercise for you. And that vocabulary exercise, take a dictionary, pick a dictionary. I would recommend going to Oxford Online Dictionary or Cambridge Online Dictionary. You can also use the Merriam-Webster Online Dictionary to compare, to check the meanings for these words, all right? I did a high flyer. Sometimes, as I said, you can guess the meaning of a word from if you've got 2 or more words describing that particular phenomenon, you can guess the meaning from the individual words. So looking at a high flyer in connection to character and attitude towards work, and it can be negative or positive. What could a high flyer mean? Flyer from the word to fly, and to fly high, all right? That is obviously a positive thing. And a high flyer is basically somebody with great ambitions, great goals, and would like to achieve a lot. Stuck in a rut, okay? The word stuck already should tell us, or should give us an idea that this is negative. It's a negative expression. And a rut is basically the tires, the marks that a tire makes on the ground, especially in a muddy area. Okay, so imagine your car being stuck in a rut, a muddy sort of ground. So you can imagine it's negative, and it basically means, when it in direction or in relation to a job is something that is boring, something you're stuck in, you cannot come out, it doesn't change, all right? You're still the same. You can imagine your car being caught up in a thick mud. You speed up, but it's still not getting out of the rut. That is how you can imagine. So it's boring, it doesn't change. To have a foot on a ladder, okay, so you know what a ladder is. To have a foot on it means you have begun to climb. So the beginning, all right, so your foot is on the first step, and that basically tells you starting something, all right, from a scratch, like, be it a business, a job, and so on and so forth. A go-getter, okay, go get something. It means it's a positive thing. By the way, have a foot on the ladder is also positive. Go-getter is also positive. It means somebody who actually pursues their dreams, moves on to accomplish whatever they set on to accomplish. You've got the next one, a bit of a plodder. A plodder is basically somebody who works very hard, but they work laboriously and slowly, and typically they're without imagination. They just do what they have to do, even if it's a drudgery, even if it's a hard work, and it's also boring for them. So that's a plodder. So go ahead, we've literally done the difficult ones. Go ahead and use your dictionary and check the answers, the meanings of these words, and then write them out, okay? So write them out, full sentences, as a way to learn what they mean. So the exercise we just did in A here is connected to the exercise B. Basically what you're gonna do is, oh, sorry, it's not connected to exercise B. It's It's first you have to think if the statement is true or false, and then you scan the text after that to find out if it's true or false, okay? So number one, future generations of Americans will probably retire at a younger age. What do you think? Do you think it's true or do you think it's false? People tend to stay healthy for longer than they used to be. Do you think it's true? Do you think it's false? Decide on that and then go to the text and then read it and look for specific information that makes this true or makes it false. So before you go to the text, make sure you've got your keywords that you've highlighted. In this case, future generations, Americans probably retire at a younger age. Or number two, tend to stay healthy for longer than they used to be. Whatever your opinion was, once we go to the text, we will actually either find some of these things or will not find them, okay? So let's start with the first one. The first one says, future generations of Americans will probably retire at a younger age. This statement is false. If you scan well, you will get to this point which says, new research suggests that boomers will have the ability and the desire to work productively and innovatively well beyond today's normal retirement age. Okay, so how did we get that? Let's do, we tried to find a lot of our keywords here, and we've got future generations, which is represented by the word boomers. And then we've also got the word retire. The word retire appears a number of times, so it's not a very important keyword. But basically, we're looking at the desire or the fact that future generations of Americans want to retire at a younger age. And the text is saying the opposite, that they desire to work well beyond today's normal retirement age. That makes the statement false, especially for the parts that ask for true or false, okay, because the IELTS is littered with true or false questions. False statements contradict what is in the what is in the text. And this is a clear case that we have here. The statement is saying boomers will probably retire at a younger age. The text says they wouldn't have the desire to retire early. So that makes the statement false. The second statement is true. When you get here, you will see, so basically we're talking about people tend to stay healthy for longer than they used to be. When we get to this portion, you would realize that thanks to medical advances, people are staying healthy, enabling them to work longer than before, okay? And that is what people tend to stay healthy. The stay healthy is right here, and it's connected to medical advances, all right? Perfect, so go ahead and then highlight your keywords for statements 3 to 5, and then try to figure out if they're true or false in that in the context that has been given. Moving on to exercise C, it's also very, very typical IELTS exam. Using your own words as far as possible, say what the following numbers refer to with the text. So 78 million, you will go to the text and then you've got 78 million. Also here, what does it refer to? From here, it's very easy to tell. The 78 million refers to the baby boomers or the baby boom generation in the early 20th century. Okay, that is what it refers to. And then for 74%, you can also find it in the text. 80% you can find it in the text. Look for that and describe it in your own words as far as possible. In number D or letter D, again, using your own words as far as possible, answer the questions by reading and interpreting the meaning of the text. Why will Emma Schulman's boss have to hire more than one person to replace her? Just read in context and you'll find that she does the job of 2-3 people. And that is why she cannot be, she's so energetic, she takes on the job of two, or the jobs of two or more people. Number two, why it's still currently difficult for many older workers to reach their full potential. That is also stated there. So just check your answer, do that, and then check the suggested answers. You would actually see that. This one is a little bit more difficult to see, but in the IELTS, you won't really have such direct questions. Even if you have such direct questions, you'll be provided with multiple choice answers. Okay, so there is no question that says why, and then you'll have to write the reasons. But for number two, it's because there were set of legal regulations that prevented people from reaching their full potential, and also companies undertook certain steps that prevented people from working beyond their retirement ages. Just want to rush through it so we get to the most important stuff for today, which is a skimming and scanning strategy. Vocabulary in context. What you have to do is you have to find, there are some words that are bold in the text, and you have to find words that have similar meanings. So those bold words that have similar meanings to those that have been listed here. For example, if something is compulsory and required, if you go to the text, what could it be? Yeah, is it a dead weight? Obviously not. Is it innovatively? No. Tap? No. Okay. Obsolescence, it's also no. But we've got the word mandatory. Mandatory, that means it's compulsory and obligatory. Or we have something or somebody that is of no use but costs money. Okay, that is the redundancy. That is the it's dead weight. Okay, a dead weight is, you imagine a weight that is dead. Okay, it's not useful, but it costs you so much strength and so much energy. And then you've also got start using, or the act of stopping or ending something. To stop or end something means to seize it. And then you've got the noun cessation in the text, or start using a supply of something means to tap into something. Okay, tap into somebody's potential, tap into funds, all mean that you create access for yourself, and then you start using those things. Do for 5 and 10 and check your answers with those on the last page. Just in F, you're going to use the correct form of these vocabularies. Correct form means that you probably have to change the tense a little bit, add D's and stuff to something, or change nouns to verbs, whatever. Make sure that it fits the context. For example, number one, her looks were greatly gapped by her new hairstyle. And again, you want to look for clues in the text, clues that will point you to the right word. Her looks were greatly gapped by. We use the preposition by, or the preposition by typically follows the past participle of a particular verb. So in this case, the past participle adjective. So we're going to look for verbs that we can turn into the past participle. This is the passive preposition. All right, passive preposition. So you're going to look for a verb that you can transform into the passive. Veteran is not a verb. Wear down is a verb, so we can try that. Her looks were greatly worn down by her new hairstyle. It doesn't really make sense. Grammatically, it fits, but it doesn't make sense. Whose looks, yeah, are ever were worn down by a new hairstyle? That doesn't make sense. Recruit is also a verb. Her looks were, or it could be a noun. A recruit, we never know, so we will assume it's a verb and then try it out there. Her looks were greatly recruited by her new hairstyle. Obviously not, so we cross it out. Her looks were greatly enabled by her new hairstyle. Some people might pick this, but unfortunately it's wrong. The correct answer is enhanced. Her looks were greatly enhanced by a new hairstyle, okay? And the word greatly tells us that it took it to the next level. The hairstyle took the looks to the next level. Number 2, he is Gap of the Second World War. We're talking about war. So obviously those of you who know what the word veteran means, it means somebody who took part in the war in the past. They're no longer soldiers. They are called veterans. Number 3, all his fears were when he realized he had passed the test. So you can imagine this person was very afraid, and as soon as he realized he had passed the test, what happened to his fears? We say fears were swept aside, okay? Number 4, we need a manager to run the new branch. A manager to run the new branch, what we're looking at is a recruitment, okay? Rekrutieren. So we're recruiting a new person. So go ahead and look for clues yourself. Look for clues because that's very important when it comes to gap sentences, and then compare your answers with those suggested on the last few pages. And this is where we get to the important stuff now, the skimming and scanning strategies, all right? This is the central strategy when it comes to the IELTS reading, both academic and general, to repeat again. What does skimming mean? Skimming means that you read quickly to identify key themes of paragraphs, the key ideas in a particular text or the key idea in a particular paragraph. And typically those key ideas are expressed in the first and last sentences. And you will need to not just skim, you will need to be skimming, looking for keywords, and that is what is done by this scanning. Okay, so take note of the stuff that I've highlighted here. It's very, very important. Skimming is to get the gist of the text, and when you scan, you're looking for specific information that is relevant to the question. So scanning involves searching the text for keywords or phrases. That is why in every question, you will need to highlight keywords and phrases, because without keywords, you will not make any progress when it comes to looking for the answer to a particular question. So always highlight keywords in the question, and then guide yourself with those keywords and search and scan for them in the text. You read the information carefully, and then you look for that. But I must say something here regarding this approach, all right? So this PDF, or the authors of this PDF, are suggesting that you should, when you have a tall text, you should start skimming the text, read it quickly to the end before you come, and then you read the questions, and then you go back, and then you skim and scan again. That is the idea being put forward here. Unfortunately, that is disadvantageous in two ways. First of all, you're limited by time, okay? So you're working under time pressure. So you don't have the time to first read the whole text, all right? Read the whole text, and trust me, skimming, as easy as it sounds, is not easy. Yeah, you're reading and looking for the gist of the information, but it's still reading, okay? So it's not like you just pass your eyes over the text and you just see and you still read, but you read for the gist. If you have a very tall text, which is very typical in the IELTS reading parts, you're probably going to need about 4 to 5 minutes to do the skimming. So why don't you start straight away with the questions? Read the questions even before. So in the videos that I will show you, or the videos that I will do prepare for you regarding the exam specific questions, what you will be hearing me say is the fact that just read the title of the essay, or just read the title of the text or the article, and then start by looking at the questions and highlighting your keywords. Once you've highlighted your keywords, the best strategy from there will be to scan for your keywords in the text. And this document also gets it right because the questions are ordered normally. Typically, the questions follow the order of the paragraphs, except in some cases, the last questions that you sometimes have to answer using the general ideas presented in the text. But apart from that, most of the questions follow the paragraphs. So you know that question 1 has something to do with paragraph 1. Question 2 will, you will need to answer question 2 using the sentences that come, or the sentence that comes after the one that you used to answer the previous question, all right? So the best strategy will be read the text, the heading of the text, go to the questions, read the questions carefully, highlight important words, as many keywords as possible, and then start reading the first paragraph of the text and then scan for your keywords, all right? And once you scan for your keywords, there is always a sentence or two that supports your answer in a particular text, okay? So you want to look for the sentences with most of your keywords. And I'm not going to say a lot here, but because you will hear them in the videos, watch the videos to the general reading practice test and academic reading practice test, we deal in detail with this topic. But the point is, skimming and scanning are your close friends. Scanning is your best friend, okay? While you scan, you could also do skimming, but don't use skimming as the main strategy, because skimming, the danger, the second disadvantage that I wanted to mention was that you probably miss information apart from wasting the time or wasting time. With scanning, you have a good speed, okay? The third level is close reading. You don't do that. Scanning is right in the middle in terms of speed, and that will help you get the answers. Sometimes too, you've got questions that ask you for the writer's opinion. It's really important that for the writer's opinion, it can either relate to the whole text or it can relate to just one paragraph. So just know exactly what does the question say exactly. Does it say the writer's opinion to a particular point? Then you're looking at a paragraph, or is the writer's opinion on the whole text? Then you need to read the whole text to get what the meaning is. Such questions are typically the questions that ask for the writer's opinion, general opinion affecting the whole text. They're typically at the end, so you would have read through the text as you did the questions that came before that question. So you would have had an idea of the writer's attitude to the topic, and then you can start by inferring. All right. Okay. You will have multiple choice. The questions are in order. As I said, it's typically this case, except for the last few questions or the last question that focuses on everything. So you have a practice here in A, and that is a multiple choice set of questions, exactly the same type of questions or the same format that you will see in the IELTS. And this is what I meant to start with keywords. What do many of today's economic forecasts predict? Economic forecasts, these are your strongest words. So you go to the text and then you try to find where economic forecasts are taught. Oh, sorry. All right, where you would find economic forecasts. What does forecast tell us? Forecast is basically, it means that you have done research into something and you're providing the results to show for a future generation. So this same sentence that we used, all right, to determine the false nature of the first statement in our very second exercise is the same thing that you will need, okay? So when you go to the question, or am I, oh, this is so far away. No. Okay. Sorry, this is not the part that we need. Yeah. The economic is missing. Yeah. So that's also something to remember. The economic is missing. The keywords is missing. So we need to look for the portion that contains the economic forecast and then the prediction that, okay, we don't know the answer yet, so we're just going to look for the part of the text that talks about the economic forecasts. So we scan through the text, okay? Got to do a good scanning job. And it should be so when we go to the text to find the keywords for that, the good scanning with economic and then forecast and then predict, you actually get here and then you see, okay, you've got economic, but you don't have the, you have economic. Where are the other words? The economic refers to dead weight, okay? Economic dead weight, it does not refer to forecast, so we leave it out. But then we come down here and then we see the words forecast, predict. So that makes this particular sentence the sentence that you need to be able to answer the question, all right? This is the sentence that you need. So what does this say? Rather than being an economic dead weight, the next generation of older Americans is likely to make a much bigger contribution to the economy than many of today's forecasts predict. All right, so you see that the writer is saying next generation of older Americans will contribute to the economy, but the forecasts are saying the opposite. So that's why the answer A is correct, because the forecasts predict that older people won't contribute much. That makes it the correct answer. Number 2, what does research suggest about the effect work has on people? So your keywords would be research suggests, effect, and then on people. So the effect of work, you can also add work to it, but the word work appears many times, so it becomes problematic. But the main keywords are effect and then research suggests and on people. So you scan until you get to where the text talks about the effect that work has on people. If you do a good scanning, you should get to the portion that says yes, in this paragraph, we see researchers are finding that far from wearing people down, so we've got to wear down people. Remember the phrase we learned in the vocabulary, okay? It's an effect on people. Work can actually help keep them mentally and physically fit, all right? So here you don't see the words exactly, but you've got the description, and that is the level of difficulty that you also find when you go to the exam-specific videos. I talk about 3 different levels of difficulties. This is the most difficult level where you will have to interpret part of the text because you won't see your keywords exactly as they are in the question. But by interpretation, you can arrive at that. Going back to our question, we did read that it can be beneficial to physical and mental health, all right? Can be beneficial to physical and mental health. Number 3, what group of people already tend to retire? It's also not far away once you've done the previous question. It's right down there, all right, where we left off to answer our previous question. Work can actually help keep people mentally and physically fit. Moving on, as we said, your questions follow the order of the sentences, so you move on from there. Many highly educated and well-paid workers, lawyers, physicians, architects already work to an advanced age because their skills are valued. Do you see that? So we're looking at highly educated and well-paid workers because they are the ones that they tend to retire late. Okay? They tend to retire late. Retire late is the opposite of they work well into their older years. All right. Number 4. So go ahead and then try and figure out, highlight keywords for the remaining 4 questions, scan them, continue from where we left off to answer this question, and then check your answers with those in the last, compare your answers with those in the last question. So exercise B, what 2 probable benefits will be gained if we tap into the talents of older people? One of them is living standards will be higher. So tap into, remember you've got this word, tap into, in the text. So you go there and then you read around it. And then also throughout the text, what are the benefits that we can get if older people work for longer? And then look for the other answer to it. The same for exercise C, which 3 of the following choices are reasons more people are retiring later nowadays. These 2 questions, B and C, require you to have had an overview of the text, know what the main idea is, and by the time you finish with the first 7 questions, you would have had an overview of the text, and it would be easier to answer these questions. The first one is that people have fewer savings. Now, why do people retire nowadays? They have fewer savings. Go ahead and figure out the rest, the remaining 2, and then check if your answers are right on the last page. This is a vocabulary. Text starts with a vocabulary set of questions. Again, guide yourself with keywords, especially those that come directly after the gaps. If you can bear to gap yourself from that book for a moment, I would like to talk to you about something. Yourself from, and then we go. So you have to use the words that are in bold, okay? There is one word that actually is followed by a reflexive pronoun and then the preposition from. For example, that word is here, extract themselves from. Do you see that? See how words that come after the gaps are very powerful. Use them. Themselves as yourself, and from exactly, so the word is extract. Extract yourself from that book means take your attention from that book for a moment. Number 2, it's very similar. You've got fashion for. Again, you've got exactly the same words. Well, for the first one, a synonym, the preposition is the same, trend for, fashion for. So the answer is obviously prevailing. Number 3, he stole the apple from the shop without appearing to be at all nervous about being caught. That is somebody who is a strong-necked person. He stole it and he didn't worry about being caught. You say the person is blatant, okay? Do something blatantly. You don't worry about the effects. You just do it whether people will get hurt or not. We've also got blatant speech. Say something very dry, can hurt people, but you don't care. Number 4, most people thought he was innocent when the case first began, but there has been a recent dash in opinion. The but tells you there is a change in opinion. So if most people thought he was innocent and now there is a but, then obviously what we're looking for is the word guilty. Okay, where is the word? Oh, okay, so the person is guilty. It's here. So there is a shift in public opinion, all right? The public opinion has shifted towards considering him as a guilty person. And number 6 or number 5, It is quite difficult to judge the importance of his role in the company when he has only been working here. The word that comes closest to the importance of his role is evaluate. Okay, evaluate or assess something. Number 6, his gap to his family is obvious because he puts them before anything else in his life. Something that you put before anything else in your life is a devotion. Okay, you're devoted to it, you're committed to it. That makes devotion the correct answer. Go ahead, do 6 to 12. Compare your answers with those in the last page. This is also a typical IELTS reading exams. Choose no more than 2 words. Choose no more than 3 words to fill the gap from a particular text, and the subject matter is related to life in the fast lane. That is this text, all right? So how do you go about this? When you have, and this is a typical IELTS type of questions, you want to first highlight the words that come directly before the gap and the words that come after the gap. The words that flank the gaps are very, very important. After you've highlighted those words, you can highlight other words in the sentence to help you. But the most important words are those that flank the gaps. So ever increasing and off. When you go to the text, you will realize that there is an increasing, which is similar to growing, okay? And then we have the preposition of. Where do we have the preposition? It's of workers. It comes before workers, it doesn't come after, so we do not consider it. But put everything put together, context, our answer is demands, okay? The demands are growing at such a pace, all right, that employees, they just simply do the jobs because they need money, okay? They put up with it, not because they like it, but because they have to earn money. So put up, and once you figured out your set of words, put it in the gap and then read the sentence, make sure that the sentence makes complete sense. Okay, so we're going to put demands here, read it and see if it makes sense. The motivation for workers to put up with the ever-increasing demands of their employers is simply a desire to earn extra money. That is okay. Yeah, that makes complete sense. And here, when you have long sentences without gaps, skip them. Okay, do not read long sentences without gaps. Go to the next sentence with gaps and then do it using your keywords. Only in cases where you feel you still need context or you're still struggling to figure out the answer, after highlighting and scanning for the keyword, should you come back and read non-gap sentences. Otherwise, just go try if you can use the keywords coming directly before the gap to figure out the answers. So the number 2 says the only problem with this is that an over-reliance on credit is drawing many people into serious. And when you go back to the text, the keyword is serious, over-reliance on credit, driving many people. So you go to where credit is talked about, and we see credit here, and people over-rely on credits. And so what does it lead to? It basically leads to debts, okay? And you can see the word, where was the word debt? Yes, here, yeah, leading so many people into, and that is driving many people into. Do you see that? Okay, so this is really important for you to highlight keywords coming. The first most important one is the one that comes directly before the gap, and then the other important ones as well. So if you do a good scanning, you should, of these words, you should come number 3 to the answer intranet. Number 4, you should have at fault, all right? And then for the other ones, you can also check the answers on the last page, see if they match with the answers that you have. Guide yourself with keywords directly before and after the gap, as well as in the sentence with the gap. Again, use no more than 3 words from the text to fit the gap. It's the same strategy like before. Highlight your keywords and then go to the text and then look for the keywords and then try to figure out the answer to the questions. For example, individuals are compelled to spend a lot of money buying the latest product thanks to some extent to pressure coming from both peers and when you go, you've got pressures. So you look for a very strong keyword is pressure. We've got it here, first of all, peer pressure, and then there's also pressure here. The word that comes directly before it is the media. So media is your answer. Number 2, employees gap a very heavy workload in order to earn more money to buy the latest products. Okay, so we read, don't forget that they needed money or to earn a little bit of money. What do? They workload is heavy demands. So that tells you tolerate is the answer that we're looking for. They tolerate heavy demands or a heavy workload. Number 3, easy credit from banks and gaps to finance their purchases. Again, you guide yourself with the word credit, and then you figure it's not just banks, it's also credit card companies. All right. That does it for that reading session. This is an idioms exercise that I figured, okay, let me do it with you. I had intended that you guys should go use dictionaries to find them, but we can do them. Again, idioms, there are really no hard and fast rule to get in them. They're just sayings. But sometimes you can, if you have gap sentences like this, although I must say you wouldn't really have any questions on the IELTS that, ask you to fill in gaps on idioms. I think this is just to help you train your vocabulary and so on and so forth, so that if you see them in text, you understand what they mean. But don't be afraid, you're not going to meet any idioms or gapped idioms exercises. But let's go quickly through them just so you know that they exist. Number 1, it's no use crying over. Spilled, okay, is the opposite of, or the passive for spill, or spill, spilled. What can you spill? You can spill water, you can spill something that is liquid, and so milk is the answer, okay? Number 2, every gap has a silver lining. If you don't know this, it's probably very difficult, but we say every cloud has a silver lining. It means every, it's no use crying over spilled milk, first of all, means, something that you've lost, it's never gonna come back, just leave it, don't cry over it, yeah? And every cloud has a silver lining means whatever problem you have, there is an opportunity that you can actually use, or you can actually take out of it, okay? So it's just pretty much like saying maybe a light in the tunnel or a light at the end of a tunnel. Basically, don't think every problem is a problem. It's a problem, but in the way there is, at the end, there is a way out, and there's a positive aspect to it. Number 3, don't put all your dash in one basket. What are we putting in basket? Here it could be worms or it could be eggs. It obviously cannot be worms, it's eggs, okay? Don't put all your eggs in one basket. It means if you're looking at something, look at alternatives. Do not be fixated on one particular choice. Number 4, Absence makes the heart grow fonder. If you don't know this, it's quite hard to tell. Fonder means you miss somebody. If the person is not there, your heart, yearns for that person. Number 5, honesty is the best policy. We say that, yeah. Best, what could be best is honesty. And sometimes idioms or figurative expressions rhyme. Honesty is the best policy, or in this case, number 7, where there is a will, there is a way, okay? Out of sight, out of mind. With more haste, less speed, more haste, less speed. That's also very difficult to say. It basically means if you have patience doing something, you actually end up doing it better and finishing earlier than just speeding up and then making mistakes. Great minds think alike. Speech is silver, silence is gold. The early bird catches the worm. We know, most of you know this. And then, of course, the last one, charity begins at home. Okay, so in exercise D, now you understand what the idioms mean. Go ahead and try and figure out the answers to this question. If somebody says to you, do you think I should admit that it was me who broke the camera? What should you tell the person? The person doesn't want to admit that he broke the camera. You should obviously say honesty is the best policy. Yeah. Or John never writes to me now that he's moved to Canada. Out of sight, out of mind. Yeah. So it's an interesting exercise. It's a fun exercise. Go ahead and figure out the answers and then check those on the last page. So that does it for the unit 1 of the reading guide. Today we looked at very important concepts, skimming and scanning, how to approach gapped text. When we get to the exam specific questions, we deepen these concepts and then we practice them more. Until I bring you the next video to on Unit 2, I would say it's bye for now. Get in touch with us at Home Studies. We've got great teachers to help you. For those of you in Switzerland, it's homestudies.ch. For those of you in Germany, it's online-englishcourse.com. And we are ready to assist you on your journey towards a successful IELTS. I appreciate comments on my email at Eins at homestudies. If you have any comments, positive, negative, just pass them down. Send me an email and how we can improve the video, something you would like to see, something you're not seeing. I'll take a look at it and see what I can do there. Thank you so much for your attention. See you in the next video.